Apparently, the 2022 season has gone so poorly that the Minnesota Vikings are now favored to lose against the Detroit Lions. Let's discuss now on the fast-moving Minnesota Vikings talk show, Viking Hot Takes. We've got 6 questions, 20 minutes, and the fans with the answers in the comments. Eric, are you ready to do this?
Well, I think I'm more ready than the odds makers in Vegas. I hope. I don't know.
All right, well, let's hit the rolling.
What's your take? What's your take? Let's go a Viking on Viking Hot Takes.
Week 14 of the 2022 season, the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings host the 5-7 Detroit Lions. And I
Well, they're
got it
going
wrong.
there.
They're going
They're
to
going there.
Detroit.
Yeah, there we go.
It's the first NFC North game for the Vikings in September. Both teams have won 4 out of their last 5. Eric, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's Thursday. I'm taking a half day tomorrow to do some Christmas shopping, so the end of the work week's almost there. Got a little bit of Lake Munster in my cool little Scott Studwell
Mm-hmm.
glass. So life is good. The Vikings aren't favored to a team that's 5 games behind them in the division, but hey, that's what happens sometimes.
We're going to talk about it. Let's do this. Let's get right into the show because a travesty has happened in Vegas. Let's go with the first question. First of 6. Eric, I'm going to break it up before we get into the game and ask you what position should the Vikings draft in round 1?
We have all these talking points, Flip. I mean, the Vikings are 10-2. They're playing with a chance to clinch the NFC North for the first time in 5 long years. And you start the show with a question about who they're going to draft next year.
Draft talk.
So
The mock drafts are out.
I, I know, but you start the show knowing full well that I treat researching the NFL draft like kind of like I treated uh, studying for tests in college. Like I kind of cram right at the end with the very last minute, like the night before. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, if we're going to go that far off subject to start here, I mean, can't we just like talk like the World Cup quarterfinals that are starting tomorrow? I have struggled
No,
the
we
last few
don't
days. There's
talk.
been
We
World
don't
Cup.
talk
God,
soccer on the show.
dang it,
Dave will not
dang it.
allow it.
Fine. I guess I'll talk draft then. So the one crucial thing about the draft, actually, it's not the position that they draft in first round. It's these aren't Rick Spielman's Vikings because right now they're not going to get the 10+ picks a year like that we've been accustomed to for the most of the past decade. Because right now, as it currently stands, they have a first, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. End of list.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 picks. That's it. So that'll be interesting. I mean, they're gonna need to hit on the first round pick, and on top of that, they're gonna need some of these guys that they chose in 2022 to play a lot bigger role than
Yeah.
they have in 2023. Now, again, a lot of that is injury related and just kind of bad luck. But the draft class thus far for 2022 hasn't done a ton, that at least what we expected. There is some potential there, and I think they will have some players there. But so since you asked the way too early question, I better answer it. And I think that the quarterback would be interesting. There's already been a lot of talk about the Richardson out of Florida. That seems to be a big popular one because it seems like he might have you need a little time to develop. And the Vikings are probably with Cousins for at least 2023, but after that maybe you open it up to something like that. Like basically have Richardson do what the Vikings drafted Kellen Mond to do, is to eventually replace Cousins. And obviously that didn't work out. But and like if we're going by position here still, like the corner always seems to be a need for this team, like in perpetuity. Like the Vikings always could go corner in round one, and it seems like they're always going to need a corner in round one the next round. And this seems, from what I've read, the very brief things I've read, it seems like to be a pretty good corner class. Maybe another edge rusher, another wide receiver, because they're going to have to back up, someone that's going to have to be a cheap number two when they back up that Brinks truck for Jefferson in his inevitable extension there. So, but I'll give you my usual answer as my final answer is that, like, I think they should draft my favorite position, BPA, best player available, because again, like, just
Oh
you got to
wow.
get the guy. I gave you
Wow.
suggestions, but
This is
get the best
punishment.
guy.
Eric never wants me to ask this question again during the season.
Hey, it's draft stuff. Again, you ask me this, like 3 weeks before the draft, I have a lot better ideas. But we got too much season to go through here. Oh, at pick
Yeah,
32, I like it, Dave.
yeah.
That's a good
Pick
call.
32.
I don't know who's going to be there. Yep.
Well, you told the people we've got 4 picks, which means you've done more draft research than I had because I didn't even know how many picks we had. That's interesting to know. They only got 4 of them. So the
Yeah,
reason I
and
asked
like
this question is looking at the roster and how this team is playing. It's I think that is kind of what we need to what we need to think about is
sure.
the offensive line, the receiver group, the edge group, the secondary of those groups, which one needs the most help, which one could use some athleticism. I think it's cornerback for me, but we'll see how the pass defense plays for the next 5 games.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a huge need. And Patrick Peterson isn't getting any, like, he's our number one corner, and he isn't getting any younger either. So that'll be an
And
interesting
he's a
one.
free agent. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Okay, now we'll go
all
back to
right.
the big
All
question.
right. Let's get to the show. Yeah.
The Lions are favored, and I think it's currently still hanging at 2.5 points. It started at, well, actually, I saw a couple things that started Vikings -1.5, but it quickly changed. The Lions were favored, and I believe it's still 2.5. Should they be favored on Sunday?
I, I haven't heard a good reason why the Lions are favored for this game. I mean, people say they've won 4 of their last 5. Those wins
Which
came
is true.
against Jacksonville, the New York Giants, the Bears, and the Packers. We've also won 4 of our last 5 against the Jets, the Patriots, the Bills, and the Commanders, which I feel like is a better group. People talk about their offense. A week ago, people were talking about the Jets' offense, and it wasn't enough to get the victory against the Vikings. And then people say the edge on these analytics stats. The Vikings are 10-2 against teams who are better than them analytically.
Hmm.
So we just don't care about those stats. Certainly not this side of the show. I think it's all nonsense why the Lions are favored. Eric, you do you have a reason?
Um, I mean, I get that, like, and again, Vegas will just go where they think they can get the most money out of fans, and I think it's a fun story that the Lions are, that they're favored in 5-7, and they're a hot team. Okay, yes, the Vikings have won 4 out of 5. You know what else they've done? They've won 9 out of 10. Like,
Yeah.
they were 1-1. They're 10-2 now. Like, they lost, that Eagles loss was week 2. They've won 9 out of 10. Yes, the one loss was terrible, but they still won 9 other games. And yes, I think they're 20th in DVOA, but they beat the first ranked team. They've beaten, I think, 8 teams ahead of them in DVOA
Yes.
ranking. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that DVOA is a bad stat. It's just that the way that the Vikings are winning games and winning by the skin of their teeth all these games, it's breaking every model. It's breaking it, but they're still winning these games. They're still setting themselves up to win. Yes, they're getting lucky. I mean, it's nice to to see that the luck be good for the Vikings every once in a while. But yeah, like, I still don't think the Lions should be favored. It's, again, you just look at 10-2 versus 5-7. When's the last time that's happened? It just doesn't seem like. And again, like, I don't want to bitch about it too much, because the last time we thought the Vikings should be favored and they were close underdogs, that was the Dallas game, and that didn't turn out too great for the Vikings. So, like, but I mean, in all seriousness, like, it's kind of fun to have the Lions back at least a little bit. Like, I mean, the good for them. Like it's good to have a little bit of spice back in this rivalry because I mean I hate the Packers more than any team I hate in any sport. Like that's always been established. That's never I don't think that's ever going to change. And the Bears aren't too far behind in the loathing power rankings for me. But like the Lions, have you ever really like, oh, I hate the Lions. Oh, it's a game against the hating Lions. We play them twice a year. For most of my lifetime, I felt more bad for the Lions than I have like, oh, I can't wait to beat the crap out of our division rival. So that tells you a lot, like of how down bad this franchise has been. So they're 5-7. They've won 4 out of 5, and their fans are getting a little spicy. They're kind of feeling themselves a little bit. Oh, we should be favored. We have an offense that can't be stopped, and you have a terrible defense. It's like, good. All right, let's get mad at each other. This is fun. It's an NFC North rivalry. It's not a pity party anymore. So that part of it's good. I still don't think the Lions should be favored, but it's fun to have some excitement back in the rivalry.
I could see how that could be fun. I don't know any Lions fans, so I'll have to take your word for it.
There's a few good ones on Twitter. And again, it's usually like the patronizing pat on the head, but like, and
Yeah.
if they do lose, it for the first time in forever, it like won't be a complete embarrassment. It'll be a disappointment, but it won't be like the loss in Detroit last year, where it was like that was the worst. And like, all right, break up the entire franchise. We lost to the winless Lions. Like at least
No,
it'll
we're
be
not allowed. We're not allowed to lose to the Lions. We're not. We're
that's
not.
fine.
Next
I like it.
question:
Okay.
Are the 2022 Vikings the 2000 Vikings?
At first I'm like, oh, that's kind of mean, Flip. But I'm like, then I looked at some stats, and then I looked it up. I'm like, okay, that's a really good comparison because I did some quick research. So, like, you got the you have the 2000 Vikings won the NFC Central. They went Central. That's how long ago it was. And the Viking, the 22 Vikings, we assume are going to win the NFC North. Something really bad would have to happen. The 2000 team, they were 10-2 after 12 games, just like these Vikings. That 20 or the 2000 Vikings, I believe they were 24th in points allowed and 28th in yards allowed. The current
They were
Vikings
down
are
there. Yeah.
21st. Yep, the 21st in points allowed and 31st in yards allowed. So again, and the 2000 Vikings only had a point differential at the end of the year of plus 26, and we've all made the big stink about the Vikings only being plus 10 through 12 games. And again, like the Vikings, that team also made it all the way to the conference championship game, but when they got blown out by an NFC East team at the end, it's like, were we that surprised? Because it was kind of all smoke and mirrors. And we've already seen the Vikings get blown out by 2 NFC East teams this year. So the comparisons are there. I love it. And I think the bigger question might be, okay, if the Vikings get to the NFC Championship game and lose in kind of embarrassing fashion to one of those 2 powerhouse NFC East teams that they've already lost to, is that a successful season to you? I think overall, to me, it's going to hurt and it's going to suck when it actually does end. But like, I think that's a pretty dang good run especially for a first-year coach.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm asking this question right now, you hit on all the points. You saw my vision. I don't know how
I
we
ran
do
with
it, but we're pros. You're running with it. Um, the 2000 Vikings also lost their last 3 games to end the year. They finished
Right.
the
They
year
finished
weak
11-5 after going 10-2. Yeah, that
after
would be a
going
bad
10 and
down
2.
stretch. Yep. Yep.
So that's what fans should be monitoring right now because we've seen the blowout losses, we've seen the bad defensive play, and we got to make these wins count in the playoffs. So let's make sure we finish the regular season strong. Go to the next
I like
question.
it. Okay. My next question, another fun topic a lot of the Vikings fans have been talking about this week. Should the Vikings be using Jalen Reagor more on offense?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say on this. It's hard for me to have a hot take on this one just because I don't think he's going to do anything that KJ Osborne hasn't been doing. I mean, the guy's had 1 target, 1 catch in 3 consecutive games. Do I think he should have 3 touches a game? I mean, I'm not going to feel any way about that. Do I think should have 10 touches a game? Definitely not. I mean, 138-yard catch is not enough to do it for me. So all these things about Jalen Reagor are purely about where he was drafted 4 years ago.
Right before that.
No,
What is it? Right before who
no,
is
they
it?
should
Yeah, I
not
can't
be using
remember.
him more. Yeah,
Okay. Well, so I I did some research on Monday morning after the game because it's like, man, Reagor really, like, he doesn't play very much, but when he's out there, he's going. So Justin Jefferson, a very valid, at least offensive player of the year candidate, I think we would all agree, or maybe even a MVP, like a MVP candidate, you might even say. He averages a whopping 1.67 yards from scrimmage per snap played this year.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
is a really high number. He is putting up a lot of yards on his
Here
snaps.
comes a goofy
Jalen,
stat.
oh, well, this is fun with sample sizes. You see it coming. Jalen Reagor averages 2.80 yards per snap. Every time he's on the field, every snap, it's almost 3 yards. Basically, you can put him on the field for, like for 50 snaps, that's 140 yards. Boom, right there. Of course,
But
I'm
half of
joking
his
here.
snaps were in a blowout loss to Philadelphia and a blowout loss to Dallas.
No, that ruined his PER. Like his usage rate on all the other games where he's getting 2 snaps and 2 touches and getting like 50 yards. It's great. But yes, in all seriousness, I think Reagor has earned more than just the sprinkling of snaps per game. And Kevin O'Connell has said as much in his press conferences that he's really liked how Reagor has been involved and they plan on using him a little more. But I personally want him on the field a little bit more, just so it isn't a complete tell that he's getting the ball, because in most of these games he goes out there, gets the end around or gets the target, like
Right.
and then he leaves for the rest of the game. And I mean, teams have got to scout this now. What I would do is have him out there maybe early, first or late first, early second quarter, get him out there in that same formation that you've shown on film a few times, fake that end around to him, and then bomb it to Jefferson or Hawkinson or something like that. Mix it up a little bit, because it's basically a tell. If number 5's on the field, he's getting the ball in some
Who
way.
are you taking off the field?
They can put him out instead of Osborne for a couple of third, go 4 wide a couple times. Like, do that. Like, we can have 4 wide Hawkinson and then have Cook in the back. Like, mix it up just a
So
couple times.
CJ Ham, you're taking CJ Ham off the field?
They've kind of been doing that already. He's only getting,
Yeah.
10, 15 snaps a game. I'm not using my my favorite GIF on Twitter very often these days. So yeah, again,
All right.
no one's arguing that he's supposed to be the second wide receiver or anything, but I wouldn't mind seeing him a little bit more.
Dave, I'm telling you right now, we're going over time because these last 2 questions are bangers. I've got to check out apparently Greg Joseph's kick in practice. Thank you, Davey Goal. I'll be on that. And there's a huge fight about the 2000 championship, NFC championship game going on right now. I will take credit for starting that.
Yes, the comments are gold right now.
Eric, over under 53 total points on Sunday.
Well, I mean, at first glance, 53 seems low, right? Like, I mean,
this is the other betting line.
Yeah, these are the 2 worst defenses in the league by yardage, and nobody allows more points than the Lions this year, and the Vikings aren't too far behind them. But like, on the other hand, I will say, like, the unders have had a really good run, especially at the beginning of the season. I mean, you could have blindly bet the unders and won a decent amount of money for the first month of the season. It's adjusted a little bit more, but I mean, there are still, like, I've never seen more over unders like in the 30s, like, going into to this season, and some of them are still hitting. The unders are still hitting. But I mean, I guess if you're making an argument for the under, 53 is still a lot of points. Like, that's 27-24 final, that's still an under. Like, that's still, like the Vikings game last week that had a lot of points, a lot of action back and forth, that it was only 49 points. So maybe if the Vikings bend, but not really quite break at the very end, defense in the red zone that they showed against the Jets. Because again, the red zone defense has been a big problem for the Vikings most of the season, but they have shorted up the last couple weeks. The Lions, they held Jaguars to 14 points last week, and again, Trevor Lawrence was in and out of the game, and I still don't trust that defense. But their defense is making strides, so it's not a slam dunk. And personally, I'd take the over. I usually do my score prediction for the Vikings right before I make the picks. I did that this afternoon, and I came up with a total of 57. That's what I'm like. Okay, that seems right to me. But I should do that with the caveat. I looked up my over/under totals. We do that on Daily Norseman. We pick on Tally Site, and I am 94, 99, and 2 on over/under. So basically, flip a coin. And Vegas is so good at setting these numbers. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 52 or 54 the way they're doing it. So I would say the over. I'm not an expert, but also pick the over.
We're going to get our points. Purple team's going to put up some points.
Okay.
The question now the question is the purple team going to stop anybody? Because I love the red zone defense from last week, but That doesn't feel
Still
too
500 yards.
repeatable.
Yeah,
One
almost. Yeah.
one touchdown in 6 red zone visits doesn't feel too repeatable. But the one thing I do not believe is that Lions defense that held the Jaguars to 14 points is some kind of revolution has happened there. Our Vikings haven't played a defense this bad since like week 5. I mean, we just ran through a gauntlet of defensive teams. Christian Darrisaw is probably back for this game, so I expect
It
points.
seems pretty iffy for that one. He's still wearing the red jersey, at
Maybe,
least at practice today. So,
maybe.
yeah.
Fingers crossed. I
But
expect points.
Brandle's been good. Like he
Most
acquitted
points
himself
that
very well last week.
we will score more points than we have all season. We'll go above 33 points.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Maybe we can get finish up on time here. It's an easy question. It's a yes or no, or like
Yeah.
when will the Vikings win the NFC North?
We'll win it this week. We'll win it
I
on
like it.
Sunday, Eric. I am not looking past the Lions because I don't need to because this is the clincher. Minnesota Vikings have controlled the NFC North the entire season, and the Lions, I don't hate them, but they just make me laugh because this whole thing about their hype, it's expectations. Everybody's high on them because they didn't expect anything from them. And it's the expectations that make Detroit crumble. They came out on Hard Knocks with a bunch of dumb locker room speeches, but somehow that was enough to generate hype around the Lions. And what did Detroit do? They answered with a 1-6 record to start the year. So I am honestly so excited, so happy they just put up 40. I'm happy they're favored, and I'm like so pumped that there's hype around the Lions right now because I know that they cannot handle this type of hype or expectations. Here comes another collapse. Here comes a big time Vikings win to clinch the NFC North, be the first team to clinch their division, and it'll be
Love
a
it.
statement game for Minnesota. This week,
I
every week,
love it.
I'm picking the Vikings over the Lions.
Love it. Yeah, and I love the restore the roar. It's cute. It's fun, and it's fun to like again. I think that the kind of restored rivalry is fun, but the Lions just don't have the defense to shut this Vikings team down and blow them out. So if it's going to be a close game, we know what the Vikings do all year. It's going to do, and I really think the Lions kind of blew their chance in week 3. That was kind of the point of
Yeah.
their seasons. Like you had your chance to come into Minnesota. They led most of that game by 2 touchdowns. They could absolutely do that again. They're a good team. That I'm giving them their credit, but the Vikings are going to be ready for this one. And if not, okay, if it's not Sunday, it's the next week because the Vikings play the Colts and and the Jets and the Lions have to go play the Jets in New York. I think it's no later than next week, but I'm with you. I think it happens on Sunday.
The collapse. The Lions lost in week 3 because they couldn't stop KJ Osborne. And right now, we're all saying that KJ Osborne needs to get benched. They lost the
I'm not
game
saying
in
he gets
which the
benched.
Vikings targeted tight ends on 10. They had 10 tight end targets in week 3. And
TJ
now TJ
Hawkinson revenge game.
Hawkinson,
Hawkinson
who
revenge
scored a
game, baby.
touchdown that game,
Yep.
is going against his old team. This
Yep.
is a win for the Vikings. This is the biggest win of the year. I'm calling it. I'm on board.
Woo!
Purple pride,
I love
baby.
it. I love
Purple
it.
pride, not that Lions pride. That doesn't even start with a P. Let's go. Should we do
All right, Dave.
scores?
Well, okay. Yeah, I already hinted at mine. I'll give mine out quick. I think 30-27. I think it is going to be close. I think it's like a
Mhm.
backdoor touchdown. Like it's a like I think it's the Vikings are up like 30-20 or something like that. Lions score late to make it look better than it was. I really do think that the Vikings will take care of business. But I've been wrong
Yeah.
about stuff like that before.
I'll say 35-21. Is that the over? Yeah, that's the over.
There you go. Yep.
There you
See,
go.
that is just barely the over though. That's the crazy part. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Dave, take us away.
Hey, everybody. This is a great show. I want to thank the great Flip Mazzi and Eric from Daily Norseman debating on Thursday nights again. All things are well and good in the world. Our next show is Saturday. It is two old bloggers, myself, Derek Campbell. We have 3 themes. First theme, we're going to be debating, should Jalen Reagor see more time? Second theme, I'm going to get deep into concussions and a possible answer for what the Vikings should do, especially with Christian Darrisaw and Caleb Evans when he comes back off of IR. And then, of course, we get into the Vikings-Lions game. And I tend to agree with Flip on this one. It's nice that they're all pumped up, but I think the Vikings got this one.
Yeah. We got you, Lemmy. Come on. Have faith. On Sunday, we're going to be wearing that NFC North crown. I gotta find this Greg Joseph field goal attempt in practice. I'm sure that'll take me back down to earth, but I haven't watched it yet. So
I haven't seen any clip of it. It was reported. He supposedly kicked one, per Davey, wide left. It hit one of the steel members inside, ricocheted off, and almost took out the press corps.
Get it out of the way before Sunday. That's good.
God.
He's hitting everything now.
Works for me.
Guy's a disaster.
And then, of course, on Sunday, final 2 minutes, we go live with the final score.
Yes.
Where you'll see Flip going absolutely nuts.
Yep, popping the champagne for the NFC North. Hang the banner.
Yes, sir. Till next time, guys. Skol Vikes.
Go.
Skol Vikings. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and rate us on your favorite aggregator. And a special shout out goes to our partners, the Daily Norseman, where the best Vikings content can be found, and to Lake Monster Brewing, home of the best beer in Minnesota. Skol, everybody.